Five Nights at Freddy's. This is a franchise that I hopefully don't have to introduce simply because of how popular it is. Originally starting the series to combat some negative reviews, Scott Carlton, the creator of the series, struck gold and created a game that would quickly boom into a massive series with multiple games, books and even a movie. The movie is set to release in just a couple of months. I've been with this franchise since the very first game and I have enjoyed pretty much everything this franchise had to offer. And with the movie based on the series getting closer to release every single day, I think there's no better time than now to delve into this series, starting with the very first game ever released, Five Nights at Freddy's 1. So, FNAF 1, I already mentioned that the game was originally made to combat some negative reviews, but the game released on August 8th, 2014, even though the Steam page for the game says that the game released on the 18th of that month. It's probably a small mistake and I'm gonna leave it at that. So, when booting up the game, we get greeted by this title screen. On this, we can see the character, the game and the entire franchise is named after Freddy Fazbear. And that's all there really is to the title screen. Clicking on the simplistic new game button, we get greeted by a newspaper. The local Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria is looking for a night guard to look after the place from 12 to 6 AM. A presumably young man by the name of Mike Schmidt applies for the job and he gets hired. And in terms of the story of the game, that's all there really is for now. It is quite simplistic. So, the gameplay. The Five Nights at Freddy's series is for the most part built of very simple to understand horror games, where you have one simple objective, which is the task of surviving for a specific amount of time. In FNAF 1 we get put into a small office but in between two hallways. We got some doors and lights on both sides, and to top it all off we also got a handy dandy little tablet that is connected to the pizzeria's camera system. And we have to use those things to do our job as a night guard and keep ourselves safe from the horrors that lurk in the establishment. These horrors being the robotic animal mascots that make the place stand out as a fun, family-friendly restaurant. In the daytime there's nothing to be afraid of with these mascots, as they sing and dance and even walk around the pizzeria. But at night, well, they think you are a naked robot trying to scare the kids, so they want to stuff you in a suit, and when that happens, you're simply just dead. Just keep the animatronics out of your office by closing the doors on them, and you should be good to go. Heck, it even sounds pretty easy when you think about it. But it's actually not. While all of the animatronics that lurk in the pizzeria can be stopped by simply closing the door on them, they do all act different from one another. Bonnie and Foxy can only come from the left side of your office, while Chica and Freddy can only come from the right side of your office. Bonnie and Chica are pretty much identical when it comes down to attacking you, since both of them will just stay in front of your office until they feel like doing something quirky. Just like Chica, Freddy only attacks from the right side of the office, but unlike her, he will not show up in the doorway of the office. Instead, he will be creeping in the shadows of the small space right behind the office, and the only way to deal with him is to simply keep your camera on that specific area. The last animatronic you have to deal with is Foxy, and out of the four he is definitely the most unique. He has his own little area known as Pirate Cove, and whenever he is active he will slowly prepare himself for an attack on the office. Simply close the door on the left if you don't see him at the cove, and his attack cycle resets, bringing him back to his starting position. The animatronics are definitely quite quirky, but they're not the only things you have to deal with during your night shift. The place you're employed at is a bit cheap, since at night it gets cut out of the electricity and a fully charged generator gets hooked up to the place. Through gameplay, this generator is simply portrayed as some text on the bottom left, but it does play an important role. Everything you do in the game will cost power. Closing and opening doors, turning on the lights, even just checking the cameras will slowly drain your power, and when you have nothing left of it, Freddy will come to the office to jump scare you. But if you're lucky, you might be able to get saved by the clock, since when the clock strikes 6 AM, your shift is over and the animatronics go back to their stage and shut down. The whole power mechanic is something that is honestly very important in the foundation of the first FNAF game. The entire gameplay loop revolves around this simple mechanic of you having a limited amount of power, and without it, FNAF 1 simply won't be FNAF 1. Even though the game will be completely different if the power mechanic was removed, there is one thing that would have definitely stayed the same. That thing being that there are more than just Five Nights at Freddy's. After you beat your 5th night, you get paid, and when you go back to the menu, there's now a 6th night available. This 6th night is the last challenge you have to overcome when beating the game. And after completing this 6th night, you get access to Custom Night. In this mode, you can alter the activity levels of the 4 animatronics. There are 20 activity levels, with level 0 basically making them do nothing at all, while level 20 makes them absolute monsters. The fun of this mode is to choose your own difficulty and play through the challenges you create for yourself. There are no specified challenges in the game itself, but if you really want to challenge yourself, just crank the difficulty of all the animatronics up to 20 and try to beat it. And in terms of what the first Freddy's game has to offer, that's it. Or well, at least just the PC version. FNAF 1 and every other FNAF game except FNAF World have gotten ports for different devices. FNAF 1 has received 2 ports, one for mobile devices and one for consoles. In terms of gameplay, there's not much to go over. The mobile version works how you expect. Instead of using a mouse, you just use your finger. And on console, well, there is no on-screen cursors, so the gameplay isn't as smooth as it is on the other versions. But for what you have to do in the game, it works alright. It might be a bit more difficult in the later nights, but from my experience, it's still easily doable. To round off the mobile and console ports, there are some features in these that are nowhere to be found on the PC version. Those features being cheats and small plushies that you put on your desk. The cheats simply make the game a whole lot easier, while the plushies, well, they don't do anything. And they're also exclusive to the mobile edition, where you can purchase each one of the plushies for a small price of 99 cents and the cheats for about 4 to 5 bucks, which honestly isn't that bad, but I personally would have loved it if you could simply unlock them through doing challenges in Custom Night. Not only will this give the ports some identity besides just being FNAF 1 but with a different way to control it, but it would also give people that already own the PC version like myself a reason to pick up one of the ports. But alas, on mobile you gotta pay to get some cheats, and on console, well, sorry mobile fans, you simply get the cheats for owning the game. And that about covers Five Nights at Freddy's 1, a great simplistic game that in my opinion didn't age at all. The game to me is still as much fun as it was when I played it for the first time years ago. The game simply aged really well, and as a start to a series, it left a big impact. So, if you haven't played FNAF 1 yet, I highly recommend you do. It is still a horror game, which might make people not really interested, but to me the thrill of beating a night is always very rewarding. And with the FNAF movie being based on this particular game, in my opinion it won't hurt to finally give this game a shot or even replay through it again just for the fun of that. But with that, I'm wrapping up this video here, and in terms of when I will cover the rest of the series, well, let's just hope that I at least get to FNAF 2 before the movie hits the theaters.
We have poor little souls who have lost self-control. We're forced to take that role.
We've been all alone, stuck in our little zone since 1987.
Join us, be our friend, or be stuck at the fan. After all, you only got 5 Nights at Freddy's.
Is this where you wanna be? I just don't feel